Hello everyone, we're back and now we're gonna finish off the last box. And yeah, as I open up this last box, one thing I just want to mention is a lot of times, people ask like, why do you need to work so hard, etc. And I think like one way to think about it is like, if you never try and you never really push yourself to kind of the nth degree or like the edge of your capabilities, you never really know like what's actually possible and you don't really know what you're capable of. Like if you never actually tried something that was difficult or extremely challenging, you would just assume that maybe you couldn't do it, or you would have these like ideas about yourself about like what you're actually capable of that maybe aren't true. And also I think, in my opinion, you're not really living life to the fullest. If you're always being scared about what other people are thinking and you're living more in a shell, even if you think that you're living the life you want, maybe there's some things that you would like to do, but other people are holding you back, right? And so if you live like that, you're not really fully experiencing everything. You're playing it pretty safe, in my opinion, because you're not fully experiencing the highs and lows. If you go all in on something, like, yeah, it might fail, it might go horrendous, but at the end of the day, at least you took the risk, and you went all in and you tried something. Just having kind of the guts to try something is already such a rare thing in this world today. So many people are just afraid. They're paralyzed by fear and they won't even try things, which is just so baffling because, like I said in other videos, it's like, if you don't try something now, when are you going to try it? Like what, a year from now? But pretty soon it's going to be 5 years, and then before you know it, you're going to be old and then you're not going to really want to do it, or there's going to be a million excuses always. So that's another thing too, is like the perfect time doesn't exist. The perfect time is always just right now, because that's going to be the soonest you can possibly do something. Like if you keep waiting, you're just going to keep kind of missing out, either opportunities, or you're more likely just not going to do it. About this kind of circus card here, which again brings me back to the thing I was saying about how successful people act like with more speed, because they realize that the faster you're doing something, right, the faster you kind of implement things. It's just a fundamental kind of truth of how that world works. You can't be slow and be successful. You have to always be constantly moving, constantly improving, and yeah, just constantly trying stuff out. And you can't have a fundamental fear of what other people think to stop you from trying out stuff that is going to lead you maybe in the direction of success. It might not give you success right now, but will it give you experiences and teach you lessons that are invaluable for your success? For sure. So that's why it's like, you can't have a hesitant person really be successful, or it's a very difficult situation to do that, because so many things in life to be successful require you to be confident in your abilities, or just, project confidence at least, or, figure things out, and just a lot of other stuff that you can't be super timid about, and the world is not going to wait for you to try to catch up and give you a chance. You have to go out there and take what's yours, and take it with force, to be honest. Like, it's when you realize that like a lot of these successful people, like, yes, some are handed down kind of money from, who knows who, right? But, and a lot of like, hardcore evidence, and you actually moving towards your goal. You can't just make up random stuff and try to believe it and just say that, oh, because my ego is strong enough, I believe hard enough, I'm going to reach it. Like, that's not how it works. But without that ego, the problem becomes when you fail, it's like you may not survive that failure. You may just give up. And like we've said before, like, giving up is the worst thing you can possibly do. So having that kind of stronger, slightly stronger ego can help you survive some of those failures and really just believe in yourself more and just keep you going. Like, again and again, the most important thing is just to kind of keep going no matter what happens, right? And just not give up. So if you find any tool that can do that, right, just use it. If it's your ego, right, like, just don't overdo it, but it could be a very like useful kind of tool to just get you further to where you need to go. I also want to talk about like competition for success, because I think a lot of times it's easy to get complacent in either work or school or whatever you're trying to do, because you think that you've either reached the top or that there's no one as good as you. But the reality is there's like 10 billion people in this world, and you're telling me that nobody else in there is working harder than you? I highly doubt it. That's something I've had to come to terms with too, because I like to think of myself as a hard worker. And even when you're outworking the people in your immediate environment, you think that like, oh, maybe, I'm getting really good. And you start to have this kind of negative ego where you just get a little cocky and you think you're like better than people, etc. And that's really just not the case. And you need to like have that humility and be humbled and realize that there's people out there who are working you know, maybe like 12-hour shifts or 14-hour shifts or even just 24-hour shifts, right? So those people are objectively working harder than you, and you think that you're like, you know, outworking all these people. Like when, as soon as you make progress, as soon as you see yourself start growing, like don't sit in your kind of wins and just like try to enjoy them. No, look for the next level, keep leveling up, don't stop. You gotta always just keep going, keep pushing to the next level, because yeah, it's gonna suck because you're not gonna feel like you really like enjoy it as much or you made that much progress. But in the end, that's gonna be the fastest way to, you know, become successful. Is you just don't have time to really sit back and relax until you reach your end goal. So as long as you keep moving forward just constantly, you're gonna reach it very fast. But if you keep taking all these breaks and you keep celebrating every little milestone, right, you're missing out time and opportunity to actually move yourself forward, learn more, and grow. That's the thing why, like, a lot of times I kind of just say like time is irrelevant. And what do I mean by that? It's like today's a Monday, today's a Tuesday. Like for example, today's a Saturday, tomorrow's a Sunday, the next day is a Monday, right? If you really focus on what you need to do, and like unless you have school or something that does follow those typical days, like the rest of it's irrelevant because we have one goal is to become successful. And what is that goal gonna like take of you? It's gonna take a lot of work. So as far as you're concerned, each day is the same. It's all based off of how much work can you get done in a day. It doesn't matter if it's a Monday, right? We shouldn't be thinking of like Mondays and weekends as kind of very different, right? Like, yes, we need to take breaks, and I'm not saying we don't take breaks, but I'm really saying that you can't allow your mind to be affected by this idea, it's a Saturday, I can't do work, or, oh, it's a Friday, I have to go out. Like, these are completely not true beliefs. And what they do is they make you like work less hard. You know, they just make you think that you can take more days off, that you can just do whatever you want, that you can really just, you know, relax because you've already like worked hard enough, which is all just completely not true. So you have to have the humility and also just view things very objectively. Like for example, if you had a machine, let's say, that was making apple pie from raw apples, right? And you knew you had to make a bunch of apple pie. Well, if you wanted to make more apple pies, you just find more apples and you give it to the machine, right? It's that simple. And that's the exact same thing with success. It's like if you want to have success like sooner and faster, if you want those apple pies sooner and faster, you find the apples sooner and faster and you give them to the machine sooner and faster. If you want to become successful sooner and faster, you do more work sooner and faster, and you do it just like in a shorter amount of time, and you increase kind of the rate at which you're moving towards success. But a lot of people just bring in their emotions, they start having all these complicated feelings and things, and they're like, oh, you know, I failed, maybe success isn't for me. No, it's just look at your input output. Look at how much you've actually put in. How much time have you really put in? How many times have you actually failed? Compared to most people who are successful, it's probably a very minuscule amount. Like the amount of volume of stuff that you do compared to probably most successful people is probably not enough. But we all think it's a lot because we don't have any comparison. Maybe this is your first time like really trying to be successful. No one else in your family is successful. So all of that causes you to think that you're actually doing very well, doing a lot. But most of the time in reality, you're not doing enough. You're not doing near enough. And if you go the other way and say, oh, I'm doing a lot, I'm doing really well, then what if you're not? Then you just start to fall behind, and then you start missing opportunities, you start to get too relaxed, and then all of a sudden you start like kind of falling off, right? You don't have that same competitive edge, you're not really always growing, and that's kind of, I think, the worst place you can be in. Because even if you start from zero, like think about this, even if you start from zero, but you keep increasing by like 1% each day, this is really why success is all based off consistency, because it's like those small, consistent kind of wins are the things that actually propel you towards like long-term stable success. If you started from 0% and then you continue to just like get better and better and better, 1% each day, by the end of the year, right, you're already like 300% over. But if you look at that person in the beginning, they're only getting better by 1% each day. So you'd be like, oh, that doesn't really count, etc. Like that's like not even worth it, blah, 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 blah. But everybody wants the fastest, quickest way to get to success. But it's just like how if you want to bake a piece of bread, you have to wait. There is no like, oh, I want to bake it right now in 5 minutes. That's not how it works. You just simply have to wait. Otherwise, it's not going to taste good. And otherwise, it's going to be a terrible piece of bread. Same thing with success. Like a lot of people kind of said like, can't rush greatness, right? It's true though, because why? Because you need to have all the experiences, the knowledge required to actually reach that point, and that all takes a lot of time. And it's just like baking a piece of bread. It takes time for you to mature and realize these things and then start to actually apply them into the necessary context so you can actually find success. And it takes time for you to meet the right people, you know, to get the right advice, to kind of find someone to mentor you, or all these different things. It takes a lot of time. And that's why you have to have that kind of patience, because most successful things take a super long amount of time. And if we have these small kind of time horizons, we're just gonna end up giving up earlier because we lose motivation. Here's a star guy. Also, I think we really have to try to control your emotions as much as possible for success, because a lot of times you'll feel overwhelmed. We have to realize like feeling overwhelmed is just a feeling. And so it's like the sooner you can overcome that overwhelmed feeling, or the more kind of tolerance you can gain towards it, the more work you can actually kind of do. Like, yes, feeling overwhelmed is kind of like important for maybe gauging if this is too much work for you, but it also is just like a way to kind of separate people. Because some people will stop because they feel overwhelmed, and some people will just kind of acknowledge the emotion is there, but say, you know, we have a job to do, we have kind of things we want to accomplish, goals, etc., and we need to just keep moving forward. And it's like a non-negotiable. A lot of people take breaks the second they can, right? Looking for any excuse not to take a break, right? Any excuse to continue to do work, continue to just get better and grow. So in that sense, I think life is kind of fair, because even if, let's say, you don't start off in a super well-off family, but because you have this ability to kind of work and showcase yourself and just try and eventually reach success, it's a pretty like fair system in a sense. Whereas those who are given money maybe don't even have the knowledge of how to manage it or even be successful with it. So they actually could become eventually not successful. So that's why it's really important, especially now with social media and how much fake stuff is out there. You have to really focus on yourself. Focus on what are you doing each day to improve yourself, because everybody can work on themselves and they can do their own thing. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is really you. And if you don't take care of that, then your goals, etc., and your progress is not going to happen. Almost done with all of these. This is down to the last two, I believe. So as you can see, there's quite a bit here, but yeah. And I think if you're always learning, and it's going to be really helpful for success, because you look at every kind of situation as a learning opportunity. For example, these kind of figures, they've really skyrocketed recently in popularity, right? So like, why do they skyrocket? What caused like Labubu to really pop off and people to be like paying so much attention to it, and foreigners always want to buy it and the demand to go up so much? What did they do with their marketing? Was it intentional, not intentional? If it was not intentional, what happened that caused this huge surge in popularity? And like, what can you learn from it? Like, that just comes from, those come from having a background in marketing. It doesn't have a come from like having, you know, experience with any of these things, but just having that curiosity already opens the door for the possibility of you exploring more and you gaining more skills that are really invaluable to whatever stuff you're going to do in the future. Like, I would say you can never really just say that you have to learn this one skill and you can't learn anything else, because nothing else is going to be relevant in the future. A lot of these skills overlap, or they have different fields and things, so it's really helpful to kind of learn them, because then you have more context now if you ever talk to somebody in that field, and also for your own business, you have more ideas about how you can change things to improve stuff. I think that's gonna be it. So I'm definitely a little tired, but I'm really looking forward to showing you guys more of my kind of process, all the stuff I'm working on, and this summer is gonna be a memorable one. It may not be a fun one, but it'll be a memorable and productive one. So I'll bring you guys along for it, okay? Again, if you have any comments, questions, leave them down below. I'll respond to every single one. If not, please leave a like and maybe a comment too if you enjoyed this, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.